Automobile sales has been going into negative for past few months, and we have seen high inventory being piled up at the dealership. That's why we are here in Alba to talk to one of the leading automobile dealers, Mr. Nikunj Sanghi, Managing Director of JS Fourwheels. Hello and welcome to ET Auto. How are you, sir?
Thank you.
So this is amidst a lot of news coming up about dealership being shut, a lot of inventory hike. How is the Josh in automobile dealership right now in India?
So obviously the Josh is not very high, but I think dealers have gone through this pain before. And I think as FADA we are ensuring that dealers don't lose strength. They continue to be as lively as they've always been. We have seen difficult circumstances again, and I'm sure we will go through this.
We have seen an increasing number of dealerships being shut. Does that put you and your members into nervousness, and what is the situation as of now?
So I will not say that we are nervous, but we are definitely concerned because they are a part of our business. So, and whenever a small co-dealer or any dealership shuts down, it's a pain for all of us. Because I'm sure they would have gone through a lot of pain before they decided to close down.
Can we say, looking at the retail numbers, looking at the production cut that has been introduced in the last few months, if we talk about April, I think this was one of the few months that we have experienced in the last few years when all segments, production to domestic sales to exports, all were in red, and production went down by 10% despite having a series of production cuts in the last few months. So how do you see, do you think it is one of the worst months for automobile industry, and do you think this period has been one of the worst in last few years for automobile?
So I think in the last few years it definitely has been a very, very challenging period. And I think this pain will continue. This pain will continue. This is temporary. Long-term automobile story of India continues to be very positive. But I think in the short term, presently I think a part of it was also because of the elections. Elections always draw the public. Indian political system is a very, very conscious system, and everybody becomes a politician during elections.
What are the 2-3 things that you expect the course correction could be from the new government that you expect?
So I think what is bothering the industry, one is the liquidity crisis, and I'm sure the government is bothered about it.
I don't see a major change happening post government. Do you think there is a room for positive growth, strong positive double-digit growth coming back to passenger vehicle or overall automobile sectoral development that you see?
So immediately we do not see a growth immediately after elections, but what we are looking for is consolidation. What we are looking for is stability. If we are able to consolidate, if we are able to stabilize where we are, that itself will be a very, very positive sentiment. We expect a better situation happening sometime during the festivals, which is post-September.
But again, you see that if we can see the BS6 also coming up, that will again increase the cost. You had a problem with the insurance thing coming up, that increased the cost, that has an impact. Now BS6 is going to come. So how do you see the long term also story?
So I think short term BS6 might be a big relief. Why I'm saying a big relief? Because of the anticipation of the increase in costs, we could see it as an opportunity because there will be some pre-buying. A lot of people would not want to take vehicles at the increased price when BS6 is introduced. And hopefully the festival season should kick in some pre-buying because of BS6 coming in April.
So let's come back to the business that we do in automobile dealership or retailing. There has been a lot of talk about, when we talk to OEMs, they held dealership responsible. They say that the funds are diverted, and they lack the management in terms of managing their workforce or capital management. That is leading to the problem. While we talk to people like you, they say that it's mainly mostly OEM is responsible as they push inventory. So how this Tom and Jerry kind of fight situation is going to be resolved in India?
So it's not really a Tom and Jerry situation. So when OEMs say that there are dealerships which have been financially mismanaged, So I will not say they've not been mismanaged, but that's a very minuscule number. So like in any trade, any business, any industry, there are some black sheep. So I'm sure there will be a few black sheep in the dealerships. I will not say none. But majority, I think it is extremely important to understand the pain of the dealerships. The pain of the dealerships is that in India, the dealer margins are probably the lowest anywhere compared to the globe. Two, what is really happening is over-dealerization. Every manufacturer is looking at market shares. And because of market shares and the willingness to be as near the customers, the number of dealerships are increasing not by the day, by the hour. And because of this, inventories are getting built up in the system. And when inventories get built up and there is a very huge interest cost, dealers have no other way but to sell at this discount. And when they start doing that, they obviously start bleeding. But they have to keep afloat. So somewhere their manufacturers, I think, need to strike a balance. They need to strike a balance between optimal inventory, bring down the inventory levels so that the cost of inventory holding goes down.
We are talking about network expansion. Despite those network expansion, we still see this huge gap between the service expected from the consumer because look at the consumer. They have become a global citizen now. They experience things around the world. They see things on the internet. They are aware of a lot of things. So how this gap is going to be filled if you concentrate in one area or one region, or what is the way out? How can you reach your customers more easily?
Increasing the number of dealerships is not the solution. The solution is to have healthy dealerships which will not take shortcuts, and it's only healthy dealerships which will be able to service customers.
What's sickening the dealer? What are the 2-3 key reasons that you see that is sickening the Indian dealer?
See, there are a number of revenue streams which a dealer used to have. It used to be lubricant, it used to be accessories, it used to be payouts from finance companies and insurance companies. Of late, I think all these revenue streams are either drying down or are now controlled by OEMs. So whether it's an insurance payout, whether it's the lubricant, whether it is accessories, I think everything is co-branded. And because everything is co-branded, the margins on these revenue streams have become limited.
Don't you think even for the manufacturer, the pressure is huge? Because look at the kind of inflation we had in the last 10 years and look at the cost increase despite having so much increase in the features, in the quality of the vehicle. So how are they managing that? Is that the pressure completely coming to dealership and reducing the...
So I will not say it is coming only to the dealerships, but I think while the manufacturer has the option of increasing the price when there is an increase in the input costs, why should only the dealer margin be compromised? I think dealers need to be compensated because Indian dealers are now required to provide infrastructure and service of global standards. And if we are required to give service and infrastructure of global standards, we also need to be compensated at global standards. And I think that is where the difference lies.
So what is
While
the global
Indian
standard of
dealerships are now probably one of the best dealerships in terms of infrastructure, Indian manpower is definitely one of the best manpower, and you can see a lot of manpower specifically in the Middle East in auto retail is going from India. And if they are importing manpower from India, obviously Indian manpower is good manpower. So I think somewhere there has to be a balance where the dealer compensation needs to be relooked at. I think the entire business model of our dealerships need to be relooked at. We need to see that dealerships are healthy, and only healthy dealerships are the ones which will give service.
How is it going to be when financial firms like the lenders are going to tighten its hand? Looking at the kind of situation we had with the retail industry or dealerships in the last 2 years, do you think the things are going to be bad to worst going forward?
Well, I don't think it's going to be bad to worse because it's not a very complicated solution. It's not a very difficult solution.
But do you expect there is going to be a further tightening from the lenders?
So there will be a further tightening of lenders. That's why SMK, in spite of the tightening, the solution is not very difficult. And why I say solution is not very difficult is because we are operating at high inventory levels. In this time of IT, in this time of logistics, I see no logic of maintaining inventories of 45 and 60 days. I think you can reach from one part of the country to the other part of the country in a maximum of 10 days even by road. So why should dealers be carrying this kind of an inventory? And I think what we are doing is within the manufacturers and the dealers, we are making money for banks and financial institutions and not for ourselves.
If you talk about the outgo of your funds, which are the biggest outgo? Is capital cost one of them, one of the top three? Do you think that?
Definitely. So if I am spending 100 rupees, I think 65 rupees is just manpower and capital cost. So together they contribute to more than 2/3 of the dealership expenses. So if these two costs are controlled, dealerships will become healthier, they'll become much better.
Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
So the discussion and insight of this sort on automotive retailing will continue further on September 4 ET Auto Retail Forum.